Hey guys, hope you're all well. This is Finding Yourself with Kyle Duffy. I kind of want to just hop on here and talk about this week's episodes. I talk about anime this week as well as Brooklyn Nine-Nine, all in two separate episodes, obviously. I have uploaded my first episode to Anchor FM and Spotify, so if you want to give that a listen, that focuses on anime. I kind of talk about the different shows that kind of initiated me into the world of anime. I talk about how much I love them and why I love anime in general and why you should give it a watch. So any anime appreciators and anime fans, I hope you enjoyed that episode. I also am planning to talk about Brooklyn Nine-Nine in my Friday episode. I'm also planning to have a guest on. This will be my first podcast episode with a guest on, so I'm very excited for that. I'm planning a few different podcast episodes to bring guests on and talk about different topics and different TV shows. I can only spend so long talking to myself because I want to have real conversations and get into the meatier things of like TV shows and stuff like that. And I can only do that with guests. So I'm going to start initiating guests onto the podcast to have real conversations and get into the nitty gritty stuff. But I am looking forward to that. So I have a few different ideas and plans for that. In my previous update, I kind of talked about wanting to branch out and talk about different topics like sports, gaming, as well as TV and movies. So I am planning podcasts to kind of branch out and talk about different things. One in general that I'm looking forward to is a podcast with a guest that I've planned to talk about the Premiership and how Man United are playing. We're both Man United fans, so we'll be talking about that intensely. So I am looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to kind of branching out and talking about different things because I don't want to get bogged down in only talking about movie and TV, because there's only so much you can talk about without making it boring or repetitive. So I'm looking forward to that. I want to introduce more variety into the conversations in my podcast, get guests on so I can make it as entertaining as possible. I want to really progress this podcast as much as I can, and that comes with analysing my discussions, my topics, and really branching out to help me make it as entertaining as possible for all of you listening. Topics I want to talk about on the podcast are also topics I want to talk about on radio. So doing this in the podcast will also help me progress my career in radio. It'll help me realize what goes into planning a podcast with a guest on it, editing longer podcasts as well. I'm looking forward to facing these challenges and meeting the goals I have for this podcast because I have a real passion for it. Like I mentioned previously as well in my last update, I want to make this a video podcast as well for YouTube. I just think that really lends to the listener's experience as well. I listen to a lot of podcasts online, especially on YouTube, and most of them are comedy podcasts, and I feel with comedy podcasts you really get the overall picture with a video podcast, you know, like Two Bears One Cave. I wouldn't be able to laugh as hard as I do with that if I wasn't able to see Bert Kreischer falling over in laughter with Tom Segura, or Your Mom's House with Tom Segura and Christina P. I love them to death, and I love their production value as well. Like, so I really want to make this a video podcast and learn what goes into that and make sure my production is as good as I can get it. So I have a lot of dreams and aspirations for how high I can bring this podcast, and I'm trying to do everything I can to make sure I'm putting my name out there. I'm not used to it as well, and putting my name out there and my content. First time I've ever done something like this, but it is something I'm passionate about. And if you don't go all in on something you're passionate about, what should you go all in for? That's the way I see it anyway. So as you can tell, I have a good few plans for this podcast lined up, which I'm very excited about. I hope you're all excited about it too. I wanted to talk a tiny bit about the name of the podcast before I sign off. When I first decided I wanted to start a podcast, I was in the process of changing careers from social care to radio, and I was thinking, okay, what's my voice in radio? What do I care about? And I decided to use this podcast as a project to find out what I was passionate about in radio. So that's where the title Finding Yourself came from. I realize now that it is very irrelevant to the topics I'm talking about. You know, I'm talking about TV, movies, I'll be talking about sports and gaming, and Finding Yourself really doesn't match up to those topics. But I wanted to give you a bit of background on why the title is Finding Yourself. I do want to upload these longer videos to YouTube as well. I was using V.io, a service that was free, but only for 10-minute videos. So I'm now in the process of trying to figure out whether there's another website I can use for editing my videos and uploading them to YouTube for free. If not, I'll have to go with V.io in the end. But I'm just holding off on that because it is pricey enough, and I don't want to pay for that service if something better is out there. So I will let you know the progress and updates on that as I go. I hope you all enjoy and find these mini conversations and updates useful, and I hope you all enjoy my podcast this week. If you enjoy discussions and reviews around movies, TV shows and documentaries, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos every week. My podcast, Finding Yourself, is also available to listen to up on Anchor FM and Spotify. This has been Finding Yourself with Kyle Duffy. Thanks for listening.